Bah, va aux toilettes là et puis nettoie là.
Bon, allez.
The story kicks off in some hotel room in Paris where this little girl is messing around with a guy. The guy's arm is a total wreck, covered in these nasty, jagged scars, and the kid is just taking a marker and tracing them like it's a game. Most guys would be ticked off, but he's actually cool with it and shares a quiet moment with her. He's got a ladybug, and the girl's getting a real kick out of it, watching the bug crawl all over her hand. Fast forward a bunch of years, and we're in coastal France. We got this 13-year-old named Alpha who's a real handful, living with her single mother. The mom's a doctor of Berber origin, just trying to keep things together. Alpha's in that rebellious phase, and her life's about to get flipped upside down when she hits up a party with her buddy Adrian and decides to get a stick and poke tattoo. While the party's going on, some guy pulls out a tattoo machine and starts working on Alpha's arm. Alpha's had a few drinks, so she's feeling the needle, but she ain't really reacting to it much. Eventually, she stumbles back to the crib late at night, looking like a mess. Her mother takes one whiff of the alcohol on her clothes and is immediately disgusted. The mom hauls her into the bathroom to scrub the smell off with some hot water. While she's helping Alpha get her clothes off, she sees the tattoo and loses her mind. She figures Alpha snuck off to some shop behind her back. She's one of those old school, rigid types who thinks only lowlifes get inked up. But honestly, her blowing up like that is coming from a place of pure fear. There's this weird, nasty bloodborne disease going around that makes people's bodies harden up until they literally turn into marble. If you got dark skin, you turn into black marble. If you're fair-skinned, you turn into white marble. Once you're fully petrified, the body eventually crumbles into a pile of dust. The scary part is this virus can just sit there for years doing nothing. By the time anyone realized what was happening, half the world was already infected. Alpha's mother is petrified that a dirty needle just gave her daughter a death sentence. She grabs some alcohol to clean the wound and tells Alpha they're going to the hospital the next morning for a tetanus shot. Alpha's still got that attitude, acting all defiant even though her mom's a wreck. Later that night, Alpha overhears her mother venting in the living room. She thinks her mom's trash-talking her and gets fed up. She looks at the scaffolding outside her window and decides she's gonna make a break for it. As soon as she steps out onto the balcony, a strong wind starts howling, and the whole scaffolding starts shaking like crazy. Alpha screams, and her mother comes flying into the room. She sees her kid huddling out there on that death trap and pulls her back inside. Alpha's completely drained and just keeps apologizing while her mom holds her. Her mother doesn't even yell. She just tells her to stop blaming herself. The next morning, they head to the hospital where the mom works. A nurse gets the shot ready, but Alpha sees the needle and starts having a flashback to her childhood fear of injections. The nurse wants to call the mom in to help, but Alpha isn't having it and insists on doing the injection herself. Because she's so worried about the virus, the mother tells the nurse to take a blood sample too. The hospital is a madhouse, overflowing with samples from everyone. The nurse tells him it's going to take 2 weeks just to get the results back. Alpha's mother heads over to the ICU to check on her patients. She gets there and the place is a ghost town. The hallways are completely empty. She notices even the food never got delivered. A nurse eventually tells her that everyone quit because they're scared to death of catching the virus. The mother's ticked off, but she's got no choice but to do the work herself. She starts wheeling the food cart around the ward. Most of the people in there are in bad shape, about 85% turned to stone. The mother notes that the virus isn't airborne, which is the only reason things aren't even worse. Down at the end of the ward, she finds a patient who was talking just yesterday but is now a solid block of stone. She just quietly unhooks the sensors to give him a little dignity at the end. Meanwhile, Alpha's running late for class because of the hospital run. The teacher's got an attitude about her being late and calls her up to the front. As Alpha turns around, the tattoo wound just pops open. Blood gets all over the desk, and the whole class is freaking out because they're terrified of the virus. Alpha tries to act like it's no big deal, but the other kids are looking at her like she's a zombie. To keep everyone from losing it, the teacher tells Alpha to get down to the infirmary. Alpha feels like a total outcast and bails. Adrian chases after her, but she doesn't go to the nurse. Instead, she ducks into the restroom to talk with him. So Alpha gets back to the crib from school and sees a whole extra bed just sitting there in her room. She walks into the living room and the place is a total disaster. She thinks some lowlife broke in and gets ready to call her mom. But when she goes back to her bedroom, there's some random guy just chilling on the bed. Alpha completely loses it and bolts for the kitchen, locking the door behind her. The guy starts knocking on the door, telling her to take a breather and stop being nervous. Alpha grabs a knife off the table and tells him he better stay back. The guy says his name is Amin and claims he's her mother's younger brother. Amin says he held her when she was a baby, but Alpha doesn't remember him at all. She asks where he's been for the last 10 years, and he says his health has been trash and he's been living elsewhere. Now he's broke and homeless, so he's gotta crash with them. Alpha isn't buying it, but Amin just reaches out and takes the knife right out of her hand. A little while later, Alpha's mom gets home and confirms that yeah, this guy is actually Amin. She tells Alpha to say hello to her uncle. Alpha feels a little bad for pulling a knife on him, but she's still ticked off that her mom put his bed in her room. She storms out while her mom and Amin are in there laughing together. The thing is, the mom is keeping a lot of secrets about Amin's past. He had a real bad habit with heroin for a long time. Years ago, the mom came home and found him passed out at the door. She had to perform emergency resuscitation to save his life. After he finally woke up, he stayed away for a long time. Back in the present, Alpha heads back to the hospital to get her blood work done. While she's waiting, she sees her English teacher helping an infected old man who's partially turned to stone. She gives him a polite nod, finishes her collection, and heads back to school. During PE class, the wound on her arm pops open again and gets blood on a volleyball. Her classmates look at her with disgust. The gym teacher tells her to go to the nurse, then takes a towel to pick up the ball and throws it straight in the trash like it's toxic waste. Alpha feels like garbage, especially when she sees that even Adrian looks scared. Alpha's feeling depressed and angry, so she just bails on the gym. Later that day, she and her mom go over to her grandmother's place for Eid. In the hallway, they see two guys passed out with needles all over the floor. Alpha's mom tells the guys to stay away from Amin or she's calling the cops. Inside the house, the whole family is there for the meal. Nobody even looks at Amin because they're still mad about his history with substance abuse. Halfway through dinner, Amin slips into a back room and the mom follows him. Alpha peeks through the door and sees Amin passed out on the floor while her mom is trying to resuscitate him. When the grandmother walks over, Alpha covers for them and says her mom is just feeling unwell. The grandmother does a local custom of bestowing blessings on Alpha's face, but it doesn't do a lick of good for her problems at school. In swim class, a bunch of girls corner Alpha in the bathroom and tell her she can't get in the pool. Alpha isn't one to show weakness, so she spits right at him. Later on, while they're in the water, the girl she spat on attacks her from behind and holds her underwater. Alpha tries to fight back but hits the wall, causing her scalp to bleed everywhere. The second the other kids see blood in the water, they run like they saw a shark. The mom has to rush to the school, but the principal doesn't even care about the bullies. Instead, the principal tells her that Alpha needs to take a leave of absence because the other parents are freaking out. The mom's gotta take Alpha home until the blood report clears her. So the mom heads back to the hospital and grabs Alpha's blood test results. Since this virus has such a long incubation period, she knows a blood test isn't always 100% for sure. She decides to take Alpha into an exam room to do a real-deal physical checkup. She starts checking Alpha's throat and her stomach for specific red flags. See, once you're infected, your throat starts showing signs of petrification, and you start coughing up stone dust. Plus, your stomach usually starts hurting because your internal organs are basically turning to stone. At first, the mom doesn't see any dust in her throat, but just when she's starting to think they caught a break, Alpha has a nasty coughing fit. The mom freezes because she sees stone dust all around Alpha's mouth. Alpha sees the look on her mom's face, runs to the mirror, and realizes she's truly infected. The mom goes into full-blown obsession mode trying to find a cure. She finds out that even though this stone virus has been around for over a decade, scientists are still totally helpless. They don't even know exactly how it spreads. The notes also say that infected patients experience hallucination. Later, the mom goes to Alpha's room to comfort her, but she sees something totally bizarre. Amin and Alpha are twitching on the bed in the exact same rhythm. All she can do is offer comfort and make a gesture of blessing. The mom starts drifting off, remembering when the virus first broke out. The hospital was completely slammed with patients, and the guards had to block the door because there weren't any beds left. It was a total riot outside with people begging to get in. She hated what the guards were doing, but the hospital simply couldn't take everyone. The hallways were stacked with black body bags full of patients who died with nobody to claim them. In the ICU, doctors tried everything to stop the petrification, but nothing worked. Some people turned to stone in a day, while others took years. Amin was one of the first ones to get hit, and his condition was serious. His entire back turned to stone. Back then, the mom tried to take a sample from his back, but the bleeding wouldn't stop. While she was trying to patch him up with gauze, his petrified skin just cracked wide open. Since Alpha is basically grounded, she's stuck at the crib with Amin. She knows her uncle has been through the ringer with his personal problems, but after getting the cold shoulder at school, she starts sympathizing with the guy. The mom comes flying through the door carrying this massive jug of water and tells Alpha she better start chugging. Alpha doesn't get why and only takes a couple of sips. This sets the mom off, and she actually starts forcing the water down Alpha's throat. The mom discovered that drinking water can delay the petrification and make the throat more comfortable, but Amin knows this is useless. If the virus takes hold, you can turn into a statue in as little as 3 hours. He thinks the mom is just worrying for no reason. Amin tries to convince his sister that since Alpha is already infected, she shouldn't be locked up and should be allowed to enjoy life. The mom completely flips out and shuts that down because she's scared Alpha is gonna spread the virus. They get into a massive blow-up, and the mom ends up locking the door before she leaves. That night, Alpha is tossing and turning. She has this crazy dream where she hears a loud noise from above, but when she wakes up, everything is normal. Amin sees how depressed she is and helps her sneak out through the window. They hit up a bar that's packed with other infected people where nobody is judging anybody. Alpha's mood 180s immediately, and she's out there dancing with everyone else. They play until dawn, and as they're leaving, Amin tells her to take advantage of the time she has left. Alpha takes that advice and goes to Adrian's place. He's happy to see her, but then she notices something that makes her blood boil. Adrian has a tattoo that's a perfect match for hers. She realizes right then that Adrian gave her the tattoo that caused her infection. She screams at him that he's probably infected too and needs to get tested. She bolts out of there and jumps on a bus, wanting to exile herself. She's shocked to see that Amin is already sitting there on the bus waiting for her. Amin's reaction is flat when he sees Alpha on the bus. He takes her to a beachside stop and asks her to do him a favor. Alpha thinks he wants some peace and quiet, but he's actually obtained some illegal substances. Alpha wants to stop him, but the words won't come out. While she hesitates, Amin passes out. Alpha realizes something is wrong, runs to a hotel, and calls her mother for help. The mom hauls it to the hotel, and in a trance, she recalls a similar scene from over 10 years ago at this same spot. Back then, Amin snuck a young Alpha out to use substances in the room. The kid thought her uncle was just tired and even drew all over his arm with a marker. By the time the mother found them, Amin had stopped breathing, but she managed to save him with adrenaline. But good times didn't last. Amin's condition deteriorated until his entire body turned to stone. He'd long accepted his fate and didn't want to be a cold stone or a research subject. He'd tried to end his life a bunch of times, but his sister saved him every time. Back in the present, Alpha tells her mom she promised Amin she wouldn't let him be resuscitated again. The mother finally has to face the truth. Amin actually died 8 years ago from the stone sickness. Amin being there the whole time was just a phantom of Alpha's trauma. And here's the real kicker. The one who's actually infected isn't Alpha, it's the mother. She caught the bug while treating patients at the hospital. The mother wakes up in the motel, and Alpha tells her straight up that Amin can't come home anymore. The mother finally accepts it, and they get in the car. As they're driving, a massive red dust storm starts blowing. That dust is actually the remains of all the people who turned to stone and crumbled away. They pull up to the grandmother's place, and the mother heads for the door while Alpha stays by the car. Alpha sees a vision of Amin one last time walking off into the distance with her mother. But when she gets out of the car, she sees her mother crying on the ground while signs of petrification appear on her own face as well. It turns out the whole family and all their neighbors got infected right at the start. The sand on the ground? Those used to be human beings. Alpha just stands there and calmly accepts reality.